I hope the days are going really great for each of you, and for me it's getting really busy and I get really no time to make any kind of video or to learn something newer except my academic stuff or my coursework that I've been doing. But today, before I was thinking of finishing my layout for the design we've been using to explain some of the hierarchical design room and stuff. I was about to do the layout, and before I do so, I thought of why not make a video about how to do a board shape. And there's many things that annoyed me a lot of time, and I learned by mistakes. And I also learned a lot of tricks that I kind of want to share, and kind of also want to keep it as a documentation for myself too. So there's the one thing first I want to talk about is always make sure that you have your origin set on your lower corner, okay? Lower left corner here. And if it's not set well, you can always do it from edit and go to the origin, and then you can click on set, and now you can just click on the corner of it, and then you can just always set your origin. It's pretty easy. The reason is kind of helps you to track your PCB in 3D mode and helps you to do some other cool things. But for now, we're just gonna keep it on the lower corner. Cool. Second step, which is more important, is playing around with your grid. This is super important. There's just two things we're going to talk about the grid. First is setting up the grid for your cursor, and the second thing is having some kind of grid reference on your board so that you at least know that how your steps are looking. So before you talk about it, I want to show you cool tricks. As you can see in here, like this thing where it talks about your X, Y, and some kind of like other information. Like right now I'm in a bottom layer, so it's showing my bottom layer. If I go to my top layer, it's gonna show my top layer, and it's also talking about my snap or kind of grid size that I'm on right now. So you can change the position based on your preference, and all you have to do is click on your shift and click on G as well. And once you do it, see how I can just able to move it, and I can just like place it anywhere I want. So I'm gonna place it here, and I'm gonna click shift and G. So right now it's not moving anymore, which is cool. So this is a little thing to always know. Well, and the way I did it is basically clicking shift and G. As I mentioned, that I want to talk about the grid because it's super important when you're doing your board cutout or any kind of board definitions. You have to have a grid size. You must need to have any kind of predefined a grid size in terms of mils or millimeter. And the reason is, think about it, you cut your board with, for example, 100 mils, okay? But you never realize that you have used 100 mils to cut your board, right? And later on, you saved your work, and now you have to redefine your board again, and you start with 55 mils or something like a crazy number. And you can't align your board cutout easily, and you were having trouble because the grids are not aligning well. So if you work with 100 grids to set up your board, always make sure you're using 100 grid as well, 100 mil of grids. So if you click on G, and if I click on 100 mils, right now my cursor will only move in terms of the 100, and as you can see on the X, it's only moving with only 100 of increments, right? Which is pretty cool. And again, I want to do something different as well. I also want to set some kind of reference in my board so it's going to help me to see where I am right now. And the way you can do it is if you click on Ctrl and G, and you are making sure that the steps axis 100 mils, which is great. And on the display side, you can play around with it. I like to have the lines as fines and the curves as lines as well. So if I click on apply, you can definitely see some kind of boundaries that are going on, right? So they're very helpful. So I'm just gonna click on some. Here you go. There is some of them, maybe Y, something like that. Probably this color looks very nice. Maybe, yeah. Here you go. So now I do have some kind of a grid size here that's gonna help me to fill my Sudoku stuff, right? So it's pretty cool. It's pretty helpful in terms of the board cutout or any kind of design you're doing or whatever it is. So this is all about the grid I wanted to talk about. now let's get to the fun part of it, is how to make the board shape. Do you think this deserves to be a separate video or something? But well, let's just include the board shape in the same video as well, so that it's gonna be like more than 10 to 12 minutes of video, whatever it is. So we talked about so far is grid and some other basic tools like origin before we start doing our board cutout or something. You're definitely gonna also we also have to like work on our stock layer definition, which is maybe in the later videos or something. So there is many way you can do to cut out your board, but in this video I probably will show you some few ways you can do it. But the most easiest way to do it is always going to your mechanical layer, and the way I'm going to my mechanical layer is by holding Ctrl and Shift and then changing the cursor row or cursor roller from my mouse, and then I'm just like shifting into different as you can see here, like I'm going to mechanical layer to my bottom layer or something, right? So let's go to a mechanical layer, and we're gonna just try on this guy, which is called place line. And this little thing it'll be very handy right now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on Shift and G so that I have this as a reference, and I'm gonna place it somewhere here so that I can look into it what I'm doing so far. So Shift and G, keep it here, and now I'm gonna draw from probably when y equals to 1000. Okay, as you can see, the y equals to 1000 mils on this small little view bar. So I'm gonna click on my mouse, and I'm just gonna go up. And before I do my layout, I want to show you something. If I click and just say okay, wait, let's do it again. Let's just make it drawing like that. Okay, so if I double click on this line, it's gonna give you a lot of options you can play around. You can basically change your land or any kind of stuff you want to do, and sometimes it also gives you a rotations angle if you have any kind of rotation. Or for example, if I click on the line again, and if I go up and click OK, and then if I go here, you can see some kind of curves are going, right? And you can change the curves by clicking on Shift and space, and it's going to give you some different kind of options. But for this video, I'll just probably keep this curve here, and I'm gonna curve it so that it's gonna be useful to me. So let's just do a little curve like that, and I'll just keep it here, and let's just say it's done. I believe you can change the rotations and angle, like here. You can just see how you can just do some kind of playing around with your angles, and you can define your start angles, you can define your end angles, you can do 270 degree or whatever you want to do. So there's a bunch of options you can do to play around with your curves. But this board is very basics and educational, I believe. So we're not going to do a lot of stuff with it. So we're just going to do probably a smaller definition of board size. But before I do so, I kind of want to have an idea about how my board is going to look like. Maybe like this, right? Maybe like this. It's probably a good shape to define all of the stuff I have inside. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define a line, and I'm going to go from, again as I speak, from when y equals to 1000. I'm going to click here, I'm going to go up, and I'm going to make sure that is banded, and I'm going to stop when y equals to 2400. And then I'm going to go to my left, a little left here, 2400, and I'm going to go to the y direction. Since the y equals to 200, probably 80s, or maybe like 3000 is fine. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go down, come here again. I'm going to do the same thing here. Go down here. Oops, it doesn't like it when I do it. Here you go. Now I'm gonna go down, back again, and then all I have to do is, okay, wait, I think I missed something. Here you go. Let's just make it, let's just fill it up. Oops, didn't work. Cool. Now I have a kind of like a general shape here. Now the question arises, good thing you do have a nice looking shapes. Now what are you gonna do about it? You know what I'm gonna do about it? I can do two things. First, I can have a reference of this shape. so that I can keep the reference and use it in my other design or other part of the board, so it will be very helpful. So the way you can do it, if you go to the design and if you go to your board shape and if you click on define a board cutout, you can keep this cool little guy as a reference to your other design, or if you want to use it again sometime very soon or whatever it is. I mean, I'm kind of being very careless about it because I don't care. I just want to have a cutout. So you can just like keep it somewhere and you can use it in your other cutout ways or any kind of things you want to do with that. But for this board, it is not really important. But for this board, which is important, is have a board shape of this thing. So all you have to do is click on one line and then, once you click on a line, then you can click on the tab. And once you click on the tab, it's going to select all of the lines. And now you can go to the design and click on board shape and click on define board shape from selected object. And guess what? It's fully completed as a board, and that's what we want, right? And that's pretty cool too as well. And now we finished our first step of showing how you can define your board. But there's many ways you can do it too. One of the important or cool thing about Altium is they have a board shape or board design, or so board cutout mode or something like that, and you can enter on the mode by clicking on 1. And if you click on 1 on your keyboard, it's gonna change. And if you click on 2, it's gonna go back to your layout mode. So I'm gonna keep on 1, and now I'm gonna play around with this. And if I go to my design, or by simply clicking on D, I'm gonna explain these 5 things. These 2 are not that important for me right now because it's basically a self-explanatory things. You can just move around your board or any kind of board shapes, which is not too much important. And these 3 parts are mostly for the rigid flex, and you can basically split your board into different for like a ground line, or if you split one for your power line or something. I have never really done it, so I'm not really experienced about it. And I never also done bending lines. It's mostly for the rigid flex, where you can bend your board for 190 degree, or you can do a lot of bendings, cool stuff. But we're gonna talk about these 3 things. This guy is very important because you can redefine your board shape entirely. And when you're gonna redefine your board shape, this little guy here becomes very handy. So on the redefine, if I want to make it a little smaller, you can do the same thing, and you can just always do shift and space to have your what they call to have into your carve mode or into like 45-degree angle or some other. You can just use it for many different cases, and you can just like define the board in this way, and just also make sure you have this things a little. Sometimes it gets really annoying, but make sure you are having the same curve as the entire design. Okay, it's giving me a little error here, so I'm going to click on it again and go up. Here you go, fix it. And it just redefine the whole board. And if you go back to your the layout mode, you will see this thing. Now I'm just going to get rid of the line thing. So this is one part of explaining how the redefine works. The edit board shape is pretty cool as well. In this one, you can just basically make some kind of changes here as well. You can also do is, if you click on shift and space, you can like make it into more triangular. If you click on shift and space again, you can make it more into like a little curvish like this. It's kind of look a little weird here, but probably a little fun to do it, right? But that's it. And I'm gonna also talk about how you can do the modify board shape. Is also pretty self-explanatory. You can just modify your board in a way that you want or something. It's not that important right now because I don't want to modify any kind of stuff. Everything looks very okay to me at least. But you can just do some kind of modifications. If you really need to do it, then it's probably very helpful. But in my board, I don't think it's very important. I might change my board later and make it more nicer so that I can just feed all of the component inside. This shape is probably too small for all of the component to hold, but the video is all about just education and just like teaching how you can define your board shapes and some other cool things. I think that's it. I really don't want to talk more about it. It's pretty self-explanatory, as we mentioned. I probably will end the video right now here, and probably in the next video we're going to talk about it. I'm sorry, I'm very busy and I'm just really tired right now. I don't have single energy to speak, but as right now it's 11:30 p.m. I'm kind of still excited to make the video. So see you in the next video, right? Just make sure you tune in and see if the video is very helpful. If it's not helpful, just click on dislike and just say something nasty about the video. Everything will be appreciated.